Hello, Yeti Nation. Thank you so much for this opportunity to interview with you. Let's get started. Let me first introduce myself. My name is Jason Royal. I'm currently a teacher at Tesla Educational Opportunity School, which is in Colorado Springs, District 11. I want to work at EDCSD because I truly believe that online education is the wave of the future, especially in regards to secondary education. I can foresee a future in which many students are educated through the model set forth by your school, especially the combination of both online and in-school education as a means to educate the whole child. I also want to teach at EDCSD because of the students. The clientele you serve, I imagine, have found that traditional schools are not a fit for them, and thus have decided to seek non-traditional paths for their education. I truly have a heart for these non-traditional students. I'm uniquely qualified for this position in that I have 17 years experience. 10 of those years as a middle school social studies teacher, 5 as a high school teacher, and 2 as both. Also, I have taught non-traditional students over the last 13 years. I wrote the initial curriculum and lessons for 6th and 8th graders for the Achieve School and was the teacher for those grades for 1 year before they moved to full-time educators. Achieve is now Achieve Online and is modeled very similar to your school, and thus I have that experience as well. I am also my school's one-on-one initiative coordinator. In regards to how this applies to my qualifications, this means I am at the forefront of analyzing and utilizing LMSs and online curriculum for the districts in hopes that within a few years, our schools and our students will be completely online and completely paperless, as your school already is. What are the qualities of an excellent teacher? Great question. The qualities of an excellent teacher are that they have high expectations. Next, they believe that everyone, 100% without exception, of their students can learn and meet these expectations and be successful. And finally, they genuinely and authentically care for their students. How do I embody these qualities? I expect my students, at the end of each course, to be better critical thinkers, analytical readers, persuasive writers, and in essence, historians who have synthesized these skills. No matter where my student begins, my expectations are that they will grow. My standards are unwavering in this regard. I believe every student can learn and grow without exception. I believe in individualized learning, but again, I don't believe you have to lessen the standards. Sometimes you just have to work harder to get the student to that point. I believe every student is worth the effort. Finally, I believe that the first two are not possible without the third: genuine and authentic caring for every single student. I believe that the relationship is really the key to education. I believe in getting to know all my students and showing empathy and building a relationship in which my students will be willing to meet the highest of expectations. I will wait until question 5 to give you the details on how I do that. What would we see if we observed your online classroom on a typical day? If you observed my online classroom in a typical day, I would expect all students to be engaged, motivated, and growing as historians. You would see different methods of teaching as to reach different modalities of learning. I would also set my online lessons up for individualized learning and differentiation, since online learning is very conducive to personalization of learning within the curriculum and the goals of the learning environment. I believe that the most effective teachers are those that use a variety of strategies to reach all learners. For this reason, I believe in using a variety of effective teaching strategies. I believe in stratifying my instruction, with the most common practice being modeling, content acquisition, followed by partners or group learning, and finally, individualized assignments. Also, as stated earlier, I believe in reaching the different modalities of learning. I believe in project-based learning as well as individualized assessments. Again, in order to reach as many students as possible, all the while keeping the expectations and rigor. I believe that whenever possible, students should never do a single task or activity during the class period for more than 15 minutes. Within a class period, I try to have 3 or 4 different activities to keep students from being complacent and bored and to hit the different modalities. I also believe in utilizing professional developments to learn about new and effective practices and to continuously grow as an educator. I'd like to briefly just show you this. This is a lesson, a unit that I created on the Civil War, in which it emphasizes what I believe in. I believe that everything should be tied to standards. I believe that students, anytime you see multiple bullets, that's an area where students have a choice. I believe in giving students choice and allowing them to do assessments that they are interested in. I also believe in project-based learning as essential to good learning, and I believe in emphasizing in every unit that I do writing and historical thinking. Fourth question, think of a concept students struggle with in your content area. Explain how you have helped a student overcome this difficulty. One of the most important skills for both middle and high school students is analyzing historical documents and formulating their own theories, thoughts, and/or ideas based on evidence. Many students struggle with one or the other. In other words, they can list the pieces of evidence but never give their own thoughts, or they give their own thoughts but do not use any evidence for support. A synthesis of both is ideal to historical thinking. One way I have been able to help students overcome this difficulty is by using pictures in my room and simplifying it. I asked the students, if I asked you to write an 11-sentence paragraph about what my favorite sports team is, what would you write? They know the answer already, so some will shout out Broncos. I then say, let's break it down. Your hypothesis is that it is the Broncos. What is the evidence? They will then talk about the pictures on my wall, the posters on my wall, my box of Broncos stuff. Some will even mention that I have often worn Broncos clothing to school and talked about my love for the Broncos. I then explain to them that simply listing the evidence does not answer the question. How does the evidence support your hypothesis? What are your own ideas? Then on the board as a class, we will write an 11-sentence paragraph. I will then give them an actual historical document or documents and ask them to go through the same process in writing and answering an 11-sentence writing prompt. The Broncos paragraph will stay on the board throughout the process as a model. Even weeks down the road, long after the Broncos paragraph has been erased, I can return to the Broncos model as an example and my kids will understand. Finally, describe how you build positive relationships with your students. As stated earlier, I believe that positive relationships are the key to education. Building these relationships is a daily thing for me. I greet my students at the door, talk to them in the hallways in class, and attend functions outside the school. This allows me to build a rapport and allows reciprocal dialogue in which both students and I can be open and honest about their education and, most importantly, problem solve and improve areas of deficiency. A couple weeks ago, I had a young lady cuss me out after prompting her to follow a classroom rule. This young lady is 3 credits shy of graduation and only comes to school half a day. The next day, the young lady was very apologetic for her behavior. In talking to her, she had been kicked out of her house and sleeping on a friend's couch. She was nearing, as she said, just dropping out. Instead, I worked with the young lady on a plan. We decided that on days when things were bad and she couldn't handle the classroom environment, she would need to self-advocate for herself and tell that to the counselors or principal. She then would be given an alternative assignment to be completed in the counseling office or the intervention room. She has not missed my class since, and most importantly, has not dropped out. Not everything has been extreme as preventing a student from dropping out, but every day my relationships with students have allowed me to de-escalate situations, keep kids in classes, and even get kids to class, as well as encourage academic growth and academic achievements. My students know I care. Thank you for your time.